People keep asking if I'm back, and I haven't really had an answer. But now, yeah, I'm thinking I'm back. We're gonna have to swim to get over there.
Oh shit, here we go again.
Welcome, Ziggy1X here with another NieR Reincarnation video, and this is my third attempt at recording this video for Sarafa. I am having a really difficult time reviewing this character, and there are a lot of reasons why. I'm going to try and make this as generic a review as possible, but I'm also going to insert some necessary context for some things because she is a busted unit. She is arguably the most powerful costume we have in the game. We've got Summer Yuri and we've got Yuletide Gale. These three characters are the pinnacle of what I would say costume-wise and archetype-wise are in this game right now. So let's go ahead and take a look at her with no further ado. I am going to be looking at all of the costumes, essentially. But I'm going to be, since we have all of them up right now, you can see, we've also got our Divine Girl. Whoop, if my internet will connect. Anyways, we've got our Divine Girl up right now, who is also a excellent wind support. And we also just got Abyssal Marie. Now, my TLDR on Abyssal Marie is Skipper, honestly. She does what New Year's Yudil does in some way, but just not quite as well for the circumstance that you need her for. And I think that she is a really good costume on her own. And for those of you Marie fans out there who are gonna pull her, go ahead and pull her. She brings a lot to the table, but not as much as what we currently have. I would actually put her last in terms of priority on what we currently have. So Divine Girl and Griff, as you saw in the intro, we're gonna get to those two, but first we're gonna talk about our New Year's Sarafa and our boar, our Yudil. So let's talk about her real quickly. Stats-wise, she looks great. Actually, she has very high attack, and this is without anything in her kit passively boosting her attack. So she's way up there in attack. She also is, I think, second only in the game right now to Divine Theo. So she's got great attack. Now, she doesn't, worth noticing, none of the new costumes that we've gotten, aside from the free handouts, like our Recollections of Dusk, none of the costumes have been given Pursuit in their Karma 2 passive. So this is something worth paying attention to. The Pursuit is kind of, I don't know if it's over or not, but none of the new costumes we've gotten have it in their Karma. What she does have, though, is in her Debris. She's got a 40% Pursuit on her Debris. For Dark only, it is really powerful, but it may not be worth chasing to 6 copies of a costume. That is really hard to get. Me personally knowing, having done 2 pities on her worth of pulls, not pulling a single copy of her and having to use Awakening Stones to get her up to Awakening 3. So yes, thank goodness for those Awakening Stones, but also sometimes when the luck is not in, it is not in. I had the hardest time getting a hold of this girl. I'm not taking it to a 3rd pity to get a hold of possibly 2 more copies of her to get the Debris. It's just not worth it for me. So what I will say though, the Debris is very good if you have the means to get it. Now, speaking of means, this is one of those banners that I would say you should go all in for. You should get at least 1 copy of each of these costumes. They are excellent. Even if you don't play Debris, or wow, words. Even if you don't play Arena, New Year Yudil is a really good costume to have. His weapon is great. He's a good costume. And Griff is just busted as a wind unit. So let's go ahead and take a look dive a little bit further into what makes Sarafa tick. And then I'm gonna go into a little bit of a broader use and how to build sort of situation. We're gonna be talking about, by the way, Sarafa a lot down the road. I'm gonna be going into a little bit more arena content and things like that, just kind of refreshing some things because she basically busted the meta and flipped it upside down on its head. It's basically, if you have Sarafa, you have a chance of winning. If you don't have Sarafa, your chances of winning went way down. You can still win, but it's way less. So she's really that good. She's really that busted. So let's take a look at what makes her tick. Her character skill. She consumes 99% of her HP. It's available at start. It's a gauge A though, so this is a slow cooldown, but it's available at start, consumes 99% of her AP or HP, and if she has a Dark Affinity weapon equipped in her primary hand, it will immediately fully charge up the weapon skills ready for use. Now what this means, it's not full 100%, even though it says 100%, it's about 99%. It takes it right to the edge there. So if you use the character skill and you've got a bunch of other weapon skills firing off in your team, it's actually gonna stop right at that 99% mark, and it's going to just kind of sit there until the weapon skills and character skills of your team have been used, and then it'll go to full charge. So this is just something to consider. It also makes her invincible. Grants her Dauntless for 60 seconds. Now this is insane. We've never seen anything even remotely close to this. And by the way, as a secondary part of this, this makes her the best arena tank in the game. So she's a busted damage dealer. She's a busted tank because she's invincible for 60 seconds. And yeah, she is just the full package. So let's go ahead and take a look at a little bit more about what makes her tick. So she gives herself that she knocks off all of her HP. She's down to 1 HP now, but then she grants herself the biggest, most insane, I don't know what you were smoking bonus to Caged Vigor, 80%, okay? And it's dynamic Caged Vigor. So it's 80% basically, no matter what, when she uses her CS. And then this is what makes her Awakening 3 so good. She gives herself an additional 60% static Caged Vigor. The way these guys multiply out, because they are multipliers and whatnot, is a little bit different based on static versus dynamic. But suffice to say, it is a lot of damage, and she is able to damage cap on regular attacks, on regular weapon skill usage. Basically, what they did is they took away the damage from the character skill, which we see so much with our other costumes that are damage dealing, and she instead takes that and puts it into all of her other skills. So you may look at this and say, well, wait a minute, she isn't doing damage with her character skill. Doesn't matter. Her weapon skills are able to damage cap. Her auto attacks are able to damage cap. She is capable of doing more damage than anyone else in this game because of that character skill and because of the insane amounts of Caged Vigor in her kit. Now what this means though is that for her Karma 2, for example, you're always going to use haste and Karma 3 for almost always. Karma 2 though, she has the option between Caged Vigor, which is great because that's an additional 20%, and also between a cooldown of her character skill, because it is a skill level A, but it only works for dark, so keep that in mind. But it gives her that extra 10% cooldown on her character skill, and you can actually tweak this girl in the dark element to really refresh her character skill quickly because of all these additional little cooldowns you could pick up from weapons, from her karma, and from debris and everything else. So she can actually cool down pretty quickly. Now, this being said, where is she useful? Well, one more thing, her weapon, okay? Her weapon is not going to be her favorite main hand almost in any circumstance, but the way I see this guy going is it's always going to be in a sub-weapon category. And the reason why is because it is not element locked. For one, it benefits from her passive 2, which is Void Drive. Dark Affinity weapons grant an additional 100% attack. Okay, that is powerful. And it means that she's going to be getting more stats out of equipping Dark Affinity weapons. What it also means is since this is a dark weapon and it's not element locked, it has the dynamic Caged Vigor and it has standard vigor, okay? So this basically, no matter, it's a rainbow weapon. Whatever element you're in, it is useful. So I see this as being an excellent weapon, but almost always as a sub-weapon. Now, What elements is she useful in? Well, obviously she's a dark specialist because it seems like her whole kit is built around dark. Cage Vigor is usually only dark and all these other things. She's actually good in every element. She, right now, currently, is my best light attacker and my best, even though I've got Yuletide Yuri, she's my best water attacker. I've been testing her out across the board in these things. She's busted in every element. And it's based off of what weapons you use. So basically what you can do is you can throw her into any team and she will do work for you. The only time that I see her really struggling is in Fate board because of the length of the battles. She has a 60-second window where she's invincible. And if a battle's stretching on past that, then you need to bring healers, you need to have companions that can heal, you need to make sure that you're debuffing the enemy attack, increasing your defense, all these other things, because she's very vulnerable after her Dauntless falls off. So you kind of have to really baby her. What it also means is you have to build entire teams around her to support her because she's such a quirky costume to use. And so Fate board for me was unreliable. I actually hands down preferred using Festive Noel in my Fate board challenges over New Year Sarafa. So that's just an observation. For regular fights, for arena, definitely. She is hands down best arena unit we've ever gotten. It's insane how good she is in arena. And for subjugation, she is going to absolutely knock it out of the park in subjugation. There is no one who can compete with her in subjugation. So she is busted all around the board. How are you going to be building her? Well, as I said, you're always going to be building her almost always with her sub weapon because it benefits her. No matter what element she's in. But for example, in arena, I've been building her with the water subjugation spear. And what this means is that I'm able to basically just jump in there and I'm able to draw attacks to her. And it really works well. So I'll show you what we got here. Actually, I maybe need to change that sub weapon there. I was testing cooldown on this guy. But what you see here is you see that she is just really powerful across the board. I've got her with really good stats and everything else, and she is absolutely doing work in arena. A surprising number of people get tripped up by my defense, even though it's kind of the same thing as everybody else is using. It just means she's a wild card. And because of this spear, which gives you provoke for 2 turns, basically she's drawing all attacks to her while she's invincible, allowing the rest of the team to do what they do. It's really a great setup. And she's powerful. I mean, she is exceptionally powerful. So let's go ahead and what is my recommendation on Sarafa? Well, I think you already know. She is absolutely a must-have. She is absolutely, without a doubt, the first costume I would say you must have since the last one, which was Summer Yuri, and the one before that, which was Yuletide Gale. And I missed Yuletide Gale the first time around, and boy, that hurt my account for a while. But yeah, she is a must-have. So the good news is that while she fully awakens and unlocks at Awakening 3, she's amazing with 1 copy at Awakening 1. She is going to do all of the same things, just not quite as well as she would at Awakening 3. So if you're kind of worried about dipping in and pulling 4 copies to get her to Awakening 3, don't. Getting a hold of 1 copy of her will do everything you need from her. It'll do everything you need from her in the PvE, in the PvP, and everything else. She just does it a little bit better when she has that Awakening 3. And so for the tryhards out there, sure, go for it. Does she need her debris? And this is another thing. She actually doesn't really need her debris. She does so much damage already that another 40% from Void Pursuit, while it's going to make it a little bit easier to damage cap on everything, it's not strictly speaking essential for her to damage cap on everything. So she's good. She's busted. Now let's talk a little bit about Yudil here. And we'll go over into Griff and Fio in the next one. Yudil is an amazing arena unit. And what he is he's the next generation. He's one of these next generation costumes where they have roles specialized at first. And so you have 3 costumes, you have 3 characters in your party, each of them do a different thing. One's a tank, one's a sniper, and this, that, and the other, and they're kind of all doing their own thing. Yudil is a fusion of some of these. What he's doing with his character skill is great. He is doing Compromise, which we only had up until this point. We have it now, by the way, on Abyssal Mirror Marie, and it's very good. But Yudil does Marie's job better, in my opinion. So it's compromise. He does a little less damage on his character. Well, actually, no, he does about the same damage. It's a 5 hit instead of a 4 hit. But it's a compromise for 60 seconds, and he continually recovers his own HP for 20 seconds, or for 20% for 5 turns. So he's kind of, and since he's a Bold Vigor costume, he's boosting himself up and getting himself into that Bold Vigor range very easily. Now, the compromise is great because it can shut down someone like a NieR Sarafa. It can shut down a tank. It can shut down any kind of costume that buffs themselves with an ability, not a stat, an ability. And so that's what compromise does. Now, he doesn't do compromise as well as Summer F66X. She compromises the whole team, but he does it only to one target. But typically you only really need to do it to one target. So he fills that role nicely. What else does he have in his kit? A crap ton of time Fleetfoot, crap ton of timed agility. He's got a lot of it, 60% for 30 seconds. Now, this is kind of at that weird point where 50% is fine because you can throw on 2 weapons and get it up to 100%. It's kind of like 60% you throw on 1 weapon and it gets to 90%, you're still missing that 10%. And so if you throw on another one, you're kind of going overkill. So it feels kind of in a weird place, but it's starting to grow on me a little bit, and I'll tell you why. 60% is still 60%. It's 10% higher than 50%. All I have to do is slap on one of those 30% weapons, whether it be a Recollection of Dusk weapon or a Subjugation weapon. It gets him up to 90%, and that's pretty darn close. And then I put some static agility on there. He's doing pretty well. He's fast. I've got him consistently, reliably over 3,000 agility whilst maintaining chonky attack stats. What else is he doing here? Well, he's got his Bold Vigor, 40%. That is very high. He's also got a really cool skill, which reduces the cooldown of his abilities by 15% when equipped with a Water Affinity main hand. That's a lot. The most we've seen up to this point is 8%, so that's double. And what that means is that he can use his primary weapon. I'll show you here. It's actually, in my opinion, his best main hand weapon, but it's got these long old cooldowns on it, 27 seconds and 23 seconds. That's a long cooldown for an arena weapon. But because of the 15%, because of all the character skills firing off in arena from start, and because of all this other stuff that's going on, he actually reliably can cool down both of his skills with the proper haste setup in Karma and Memoirs and things like that. He can reliably cool down both of his skills in turn with the rest of your team, so all your team's firing off their skills at once. And so what that means is that this weapon is reliably super powerful, because if you look at those darn modifiers, I mean, my goodness. Increases water damage by 30%, 100% times 4. That's the first one that fires off. And then the next one is 100% times 5 and increases damage by 60% when over 80% HP. This thing is damage capping against chonky units in Arena. This is a powerful weapon for him in Arena and really anywhere else. And in addition to that, it's got the new Liquid Boon, which is 35% increase to element damage. And it also has skill cooldown, which is great for him because he needs all the cooldown he can get because it's a longer cooldown weapon duration. So what this guy does is he's a sniper, he's a compromise unit, and he just kind of does all these neat little things and puts them into one, and he's chonky too, he's got good stats. And so he basically is one of the next generation units that fills multiple roles within just one character slot. And that's what makes him so powerful. Do I see him being used in Arena moving forward? Yeah, I do. I think he's always gonna have kind of a weird place in Arena where he can shift in and out. I played between him and Divine Yudil, swapping them out to see which one complements Sarafa better. They both do. They both work great with her because Divine Yudil increases her Dauntless. Once he fires off his character skill, then it basically adds to that 60 seconds with whatever he has put onto it at whatever point he has. So if she has 15 seconds left on her Dauntless and he fires off his character skill, he just granted her another 15 seconds outside of the 60 seconds that she would have had, which is great. So these characters all working together are amazing. I'm gonna go ahead and dive into a pre-recorded video that I've already done of Griff and Theo because I recorded this again, this is my third time recording this video. I've had a really difficult time talking about these costumes, but Recommendation for Yudil, if you play Arena, definitely get him. He's good with one copy, but unfortunately, he, like Sarafa, really benefits from that Bold Vigor, which you get at Awakening 3, 4 copies. So this is gonna be an expensive banner to pull on. I hope everybody was saving. But again, 1 copy of each of these guys, you're good. So I'm gonna leave it here. Sarafa, must pull. Yudil, great Arena unit, and maybe good in some other parts of the game, great weapon. These guys are all good. So let's jump over to the next one here, and I will see you in my pre-recorded video for the next one. Peace out, y'all. Have a good one. Bye.
Burn my house to the ground! My family's dead! What do I do? Burn my house to the ground! My family's dead! What do I do?